The crypto markets are still looking pretty hot out there. We have green across the board, and I think many people are wondering, will we have continuation of the pump? Are we going to get a pullback? What exactly should you be expecting over the next 24 to 48 hours? Well, the short end of the stick over here, at least, is that it looks like you're probably going to get a little bit of continuation, and then you might get slammed down into, I would say, Monday, maybe Tuesday. That's the essence of what we're going to be looking at today. That does still set up some trade opportunities. Most specifically, I still want to have a look at ETH. Some very, very big things happening over there on ETH. So smash the like button, hit the bell notification, and subscribe to the channel. It's going to be a big weekly close. We're still seeing shorts attempting to take the other side of the trade over here and short the momentum. And consequently, they're getting crushed, right? 339 million worth of liquidations over there. This is pretty big 24-hour liquidation levels because the market's heating up, of course, right? So we've seen almost $1 billion worth of liquidations. And now, again, over the last 24 hours, 624 million. So you can see on the bottom over here, big red bars towards the downside are the shorts getting liquidated. Green bars on the upside are the longs getting liquidated. So a lot of longs also celebrating, which is kind of ironic because if you do look at the history over here, I mean, they've been absolutely annihilated. You know, coins drop 98% and then you're getting like 30-40% pumps. I want to remind you, after a 90% drop, you need something like an 800% gain just to get back to break even, right? So this is the importance of controlling your risk, right? Risk management is absolutely key. But where are we within the broader cycle? Remember, we outlined the probabilities where we said that the best case scenario is that you're 70% of the way through this bull run, meaning you have 30% remaining, which is the winner's curse phase where everybody's a genius in a bull market and you see massive price appreciations and basically you're going to throw darts at a board and almost anything goes up. Are we in that environment? Well, if we play out the cycle in accordance with what we've seen in the price cycles, we're currently following the purple trajectory. And if I just zoom in, that's that one over there, right? That's the purple trajectory over there. We're trying to play catch up to what we saw with the green and the orange, which was market cycle 4 and 3. So 2017 was the orange, 2021 was the green one, and now we're in the purple one, which is significantly underperforming what we've actually seen in the price cycles. So that's why I say 70% of the way through, because if you measure from the start over here, well, currently the cycle has run exactly how many days? Exactly. Let's see. We have completed 913 days. And price cycles we've seen run as far as 1,050 days. And if we go for the lengthening cycle theory, then, you know, you're looking at maybe just beyond that, maybe 1,200 days. Basically, in summary, it leaves us with approximately 150 to about 200-ish days left, right? 150 to 200 days left if we're going to follow the way that the price cycles have. So will we get massive price appreciation in the coming days, weeks, and months? Well, things are starting to line up to look like that. But of course, there's always going to be some risk factors that you have to be concerned of. And it's going to depend on the weekly close, right? And what the stock market does as well. The stock market, for what it's worth, failed yesterday to push above the 200-day moving average, which is still in that lower high territory, which is something that is a bit of a concern with low volume, right? But we'll see what Trump has up his sleeve coming up next week. It seems every week he has something to say. And actually, weekend price action trading has been pretty significant. If you look over the last couple of months, you've seen some pretty sizable big moves over the course of the weekend, right? Liquidity is definitely building up below over here. That's on the 1 week scale. Let's look at the 24-hour period. Okay, shorts building up over the last 24 hours with stop losses at 104,000. So that can continue that move. Remember, momentum tends to continue. Inertia tends to continue. And if the bulls have a lot of momentum, probably they're going to continue to run with it. I think you could see one more spike towards the upside. I'll show you what that looks like on the charts in just a moment. Daily exchange volume starting to turn a corner over here. If we zoom in on the monthly, this is the first in a very long time in this whole notable downtrend that we've had, which initiated once the highs were put in at around $109,000. Ever since we put in that high, it's literally been lower low and lower high, lower low and lower high. And this is the first time that we're starting to see the first higher low printing over there with the 7-day daily exchange volume at 30.7 billion, whereas the previous ones were sitting at 30.05 billion. So we got 0.02 billion higher on the 7-day daily exchange volume, which is a little bit of a trend shift. So if we can continue to get that momentum towards the upside, we can start to challenge these highs in a couple of weeks, that could start to shift the environment where maybe we will play a bit of catch up over here. So I think a lot of people feel sidelined and late. In fact, I actually saw on Twitter or Crypto X, it's trending over there, is the key phrase sidelined, right? So a lot of people probably feel sidelined, but in the reality, you're not sidelined at all, right? Remember, 90% down on most coins means around 900% gain that you need just to get back to break even. You're absolutely not sidelined, right? So if you are looking to take advantage of the market and you're looking for a place to trade, there are links in the description below. By the way, guys, 𝗪𝗏𝗀 are offering a spin the wheel here for any of you that want to win something. You'll have like a 95% chance of winning. There's only one thing that doesn't qualify you for a prize. You can actually even win half a Bitcoin, which is pretty significant. So use the link in the description below. All you have to do is go make a small deposit over there. That will qualify you to spin the wheel over here. And you can actually get up to 100 different spins, right? So go through, use the link in the description below. No KYC required on 𝗪𝗏𝗀, and it's a tier 1 exchange, right? A very, very, very safe exchange to trade on. All right, cool. Let's look at Bitcoin. So as long as Bitcoin remains above $101,900 and closes there today, well, your RSI will continue to trend towards the upside. Currently, your RSI is situated right above that 70 mark, which is important. Holding above 70 is where the trending moves tend to take place. So as long as bulls can keep this above 70, that's going to be looking good. And we have the bull moon coming up, of course, on the 12th of May, which is going to be on Monday, right? So maybe a little bit of a pullback just to fill some of these inefficiencies around $99,000 coming into Monday, and then probably continuation. I think most people are going to be in the buy the dip mentality, right? So the consolidation within this region is looking good. If we change this view and you look at the high volume profile, that was the area that was major resistance that we're looking at for quite a long period of time, where price started to deviate, and then you got the expansive move. Right now, you're working on your third candle close and open. So 3 candles, both opening and closing above that whole high volume area. That increases the probability that the breakout is absolutely real and going to lead to continuation, right? Especially when supported with the volume increasing towards the upside. If we look over here, you have had a rise in volume, right? For the first time in all of these pumps, we actually did get a rise in volume. Yesterday, it dropped off significantly, but it was a little bit of a doji candle red day. So we'll see how today's candle does close, right? If you do get that third candle close, remember, 3 starts to initiate a trend. 3 candle closes and opens above this high volume area, increases the probability that it's a real breakout and you'll be leading to continuation. Total cryptocurrency market cap coming into resistance over here, but based on what Bitcoin is doing and the momentum behind Bitcoin, you're probably going to see the total cryptocurrency market cap follow through as well and challenge up towards those highs, right? So Bitcoin dominance coming down. This opens up for the first time probably in this entire crypto cycle a real chance that altcoins can actually catch a bid, right? So there it is. We're looking at the death cross that's about to take place. As long as prices hang around here on the Bitcoin dominance, you should see the 9 and 18 exponential moving average cross bearishly, and then you might get some meaningful follow through towards the downside. And the reason why is because if you look at this yellow line over here, right? This has been a major pivot level. So essentially you've deviated that level. I wouldn't rule out, it's always possible that it spikes up one more time in another trap fashion. Let's just quickly turn off those EMAs to clean it up. But you have there, of course, pivot level 1, pivot level 2, pivot level 3. And then what we had been looking at is the overall trading range measured from the low to the absolute high of the last cycle. And the real key zone would be if it came into this 66% level. But maybe it's getting a bit front run, right? So whenever we look at a level like that yellow line, and you start to close below it, and you're getting the compression between the 9 and 18 exponential, and you close below that, that could be the deviation, right? Deviation of a key level. Maybe that part has been front run, so you have to be open to that. And if that does happen, of course, altcoins are going to do very, very well. And that's why we're seeing ETH BTC bouncing off of those key levels that we outlined, which is currently the case, right? So just quickly expanding that over there, have a look at that. Pretty sizable move on the ETH BTC chart. It narrowly missed our ultimate target, which was going to be this yellow line over here, right? Still possible. If there is a bull trap scenario, that could lead to one more leg towards the downside. But I think all eyes on ETH as you're watching ETH outperform right now. a lot of the coins. And if you think that a lot of people are sidelined on the market in general, well, people are definitely sidelined on Ethereum as an upside trade potential, right? So we outlined this probably 2 weeks ago, the ETH trade literally off the lows over there. So I will claim a little bit of clout. If you guys want to write clout in the comments, if you did watch that show, I'll claim that clout for free today. That was one of the trades that we looked at, and we got a beautiful, beautiful move towards the upside. So higher time frame, where is this thing going and what is it looking like? Well, you can see over here pretty clear high time frame range, right? So here's your range low, price moves up to the range high, range low again, range high, range low again. So basically you're looking at price oscillating between those highs and lows. So if momentum does persist the way that it is for Ethereum right now, what I'm looking at over here is the possibility for ETH to continue to just absolutely rally all the way up towards $3,000 into the mid-range. Oftentimes you see price deviate slightly above that mid-range level, right? And then it comes back down. And then that's probably where you're going to get a move all the way back down to around $2,000. And that's going to be your high low. And that will allow for the momentum oscillator as well to roll over like this, right? So if we just expand that, you're looking at the momentum oscillator, money flow. We highlighted this a long time ago. Look at that. We also highlighted all the vertical lines over there where we started to see those shifts, which was similar to what we're seeing over here. And that's why we said we think that there's a big, big, big move that's coming on ETH, right? And there it is, right? Money flow moving towards the upside, putting in the high low over there. That's what we're looking for next, right? Is the high low. So only time will tell, right? We'll leave it open for a little bit. We'll keep this chart in view over the coming weeks, a move up to about $2,800. So that's why I say a possible squeeze into 3,000. But this has been a sizable move. This was one of the other charts that we brought up about 2 weeks ago where we said, you know, you're looking at price moving into these, the 3 and the 9 moving average. And we're looking at a price move all the way up to the 30 MA, which is exactly what you got now. Definitely didn't think you'd do it in one candle, but there it is. 43.68% move from the low to the high over there. Pretty significant, but there's still a lot of momentum left, right? If you look over here, you've literally only just crossed over there on your momentum oscillator, very similar to what we've seen on the money flow that's below. So looking at price in the very, very short term for Ethereum, this is what we're looking at over here. We're looking at a big move up, right? Consolidation into a triangle, and the measured move off of that, if this does actually break out, it should happen over the course of pretty much today, because this is a low time frame chart. If this does manage to hold the structure, you're looking at a move up all the way to about 2,669 for ETH, right? So I think some longs are starting to build up over here, but it's not that many. If you look at this, you can see your open interest, the aggregate funding rate, of course, has been oscillating, starting to build up over time. You got a lot of people that close their long trades over here. As you can see over here, the histogram coming towards the downside. But the important thing was this, right? You had a big, big, big flush in the open interest over there, and price managed to somewhat hold up. So that tells you that over the course of this time period over here, you could see continuation, right? You could see continuation over here on ETH. So if you are looking for a very, very risky trade, I guess you'd probably be building along over here, looking for the explosive move up towards 2,671. But these trades play out very, very quick. So you want to be nimble in your approach to exit. You know, that's a possible 12 to 13% move over the course of today if this structure does actually hold. And unbelievably, if you look on the lower time frames, like the 5 minute, there it is. Let's just quickly confirm this. This would be, yes, it would still play out over today if it does actually happen, right? If you look on the low time frame on the 5 minute between the 50 and 200 EMA, unbelievably, prices respected this all the way since 1800, right? And it continues to hold that. So this is one guide that you can utilize to determine, you know, are things getting a little bit sketchy? Should you exit this position? If you start to see that compression between the 50 and the 200 coming into each other, and you start to break this below, then that may be an indication that you're putting in the pullback a little bit earlier. But as it currently stands, a lot of momentum behind the bulls over there. So we can have a look at some of the altcoins. Let me know in the comments if there is anything specific that you do want to have a look at. The things that I do want to have a look at today, one is AIXBT, which is something that we covered yesterday. You know, that is still pretty much primed right in the zone. So AIXBT, here it is. Let's zoom in. Theoretically, you could still be building a position over here. Look at that trade over there. This opens up trade opportunity all the way up to the yearly open. This has literally been the message for a few weeks now. Any of the positions that are basically holding up around their range breakout level. So you can see the range breakout set between the previous month's low and the previous month's high, right? Price moving between those zones. You've broken out. As long as you can maintain above that and you don't deviate back into that trading range, similar to ETH at 1800, that kind of creates an opportunity over here, right? So you really want to hold above Monday high. As long as you can hold above Monday high, you open up the possibility to squeeze all the way to the yearly open. I think this is a pretty decent setup over here. And you can start to clear out some of these resistance levels. So that is AIXBT. That's one of the trades still in the same place. Let's have a look at Render. Render was one that we looked at yesterday as well. Let's see if it's still looking decent or has it come down. How are we looking over here? So Render playing out perfectly. Look at that. I gave the trade twice. First, I gave the trade over here with the big risk to reward tool set up over here. And that is $4.54. And then I gave the second one over here. And pretty much you experience absolutely no drawdown on that. So if you do want to eliminate the risk, feel free to do so. But Render still looking good for a breakout and a move all the way up to $6.70. Okay, what was the other one that we gave? We gave a couple of these over here. Let me know in the comments if there's anything specific that you want to look at. 𝗪𝗡, yes, 𝗪𝗡 was another one that we wanted to look at. And we took the trade on. So here it is, 𝗪𝗡. Let's go to 𝗪𝗡. Also, in profit, looking good. There's the trade. Holding up over here, you can eliminate the risk. This one's already played out half of the move. So you're looking at still for 𝗪𝗡, a move up 21%. Let's go in the daily for a bit more perspective. Looking great, right? Really looking great. Stop loss below there. Of course, guys, at this point, if you want to eliminate the risk, feel free to do so. And this is just a very conservative target. Honestly, this thing can easily squeeze up to $12, $13 and possibly even all the way up to the yearly open, which is sitting at $16. But we like to go with a little bit more of a conservative approach so we can get more trades in. All right. Ondo, we can have a look at Ondo. So under the real world asset sector, let's go to Ondo. There's a lot actually happening in the real world asset sector. So where's our real world assets? Here we go. Here's Ondo. Ondo, look, stop loss is obviously below here, but the reason I didn't want to take this trade was because it had already moved a lot. I think that if you had got it down here at about 86, 87, you know, great trade opportunity over there. You can see price respecting this trend line throughout, macro trend line holding, and you're going to be trading this up to the yearly open, which is about $1.35. So real world assets are actually being used in the real world. It's unbelievable, right? I actually saw this article over here. Multi-bank over here has linked ultimately with the largest real world asset tokenization deal, $3 billion tokenization deal. Over there, you can see all the real world assets over here and their treasuries basically actually happening in real world. This is in Dubai. They did this with multi-bank in Dubai with a property market, probably one of the hottest property markets in the world, by the way. I'm here, guys. This is like the property market over here is insane. It's similar to crypto. People buy properties off plan and they flip them along the way, like for double, triple, even quadruple the price. It's unbelievable. So real world assets with multi-bank actually taking real world action, which is good to see. What about Mantra? Mantra's still dead, right? Honestly, guys, I don't see this one recovering. This is kind of like betting on Luna, right? When Luna got absolutely crushed and it went down below $1, it's kind of similar. So I wouldn't necessarily be gambling on this. I think rather look to some of the other opportunities there. Okay, let's have a look. Sonic. We can look at Sonic. Okay, let's go on some of the low time frames. Let's just get some perspective. Same as the rest. Move towards the yearly open. Pretty much for everything, a move towards the yearly open. Theoretically, you do have a bit of a trade opportunity over here. Just like everything else, it's all risky. Everything is risky, right? You know, fortunes favor the bold and the brave. Ultimately, that's the way that life works, right? Scared money don't make no money. If you want to make money, don't be scared. You have to take a chance, right? This is all risky, but theoretically, this would be a trade setup. You know, if you're looking at something like that, I would say as long as you don't break below this candle, I'd float my stop loss somewhere around that 53-cent region. Give it a little bit of room. You know, maybe grab a couple of small little wicks that are hanging or floating below over here. But generally speaking, that's the trade, right? Trade up to the yearly open. So there are a lot of trades, although people feel that, you know, they've missed everything, the whole move, right? This is not even the full history of this chart, but if you look from there to there, that's still down 40% on Sonic, right? Remember, the first chart is Phantom. That's the actual chart, which would show you it's probably down like massively, like 80-90%. What about Solana? Okay, let's see how Solana. So Solana for me personally is a bit too close to the yearly open. Hence, I'm not too interested in it. Do I think it will squeeze to the yearly open at about 190? I do. And this is one that we actually spoke about also from around that 120 region. I gave the trade setups when it was trading around there. Go back to that video on the 16th of April and you'll see the trade setup was all to the yearly open, just like the rest of them. Sui, we took the trade setup over here from $2.20, right? All the way up. This one's already going to smash the yearly open. So we can't look towards Sui. You have to look towards some of these others, and you have to be betting on the rotational play, right? Going back to ETH over here, you still got a sizable move to get to the yearly open. So there it is, another 40%. What's interesting about that, that's 3,300. Let's go back to the ETH chart over here. What did I say? I said I think that ETH, you could easily move all the way back above the mid-range over here, which is 2,800. Do you squeeze as high as 3,300 to the yearly open and then deviate it? Well, that would be this, right? That would essentially look something like that. It's always possible. It just depends on the momentum behind price action over there. So, all right, yearly open, what is it in the stock market? Actually, that's a good question. Let's have a look. What is the yearly open in the stock market? Let's go to stocks over here, and we'll go to the S&P 500. So the yearly open is actually coming up at 5,900 for the stock market. So this is the thing with the stock market. I said probability-wise, I think it's probably going to grind through this, and it is going to take out that lower high. But yeah, essentially that's what you looked at, right? You had the move down. As soon as you broke below all of these lows on the stock market, you broke structure. There it was, right? Then you bounced, you said in the next lower high. Price obviously marked down, created another low, and then it's attempted to start to break that structure with your first little high low over there. But macro on the high time frame, we're on the 4-hour time frame. On the daily, this is lower high territory, right? But there is your yearly open. So we'll see what happens next week. The stock market's definitely going to dictate a lot of what will happen with crypto. 𝗵𝗂, yes, 𝗵𝗂 chain. 𝗵𝗂 was another one that we had to look at. That was another one of the great trade setups that we gave. Really, really good position over there. I think that's massively up in profit. We're like over 50%. Yearly opens very high. Remember, this coin launched recently, so I wouldn't really take this one too seriously in terms of a trade. Like when I say we're targeting the yearly open, I think that's a bit of a pipe dream in the short term, right? But otherwise, yeah, it's looking okay. Still looking okay. I guess stop loss now below 370. You don't want to see it break below that. If it's going to continue this markup phase, I think a sensible TP is going to be over there in the mid-range, previous month's mid-range, 544. Okay, 𝗵𝗂. We can have a look at 𝗵𝗂 as well. 𝗵𝗂 USDT. By the way, guys, for anyone that does want to learn to trade, we have such amazing things coming up. Look at that trade. Beautiful. This played out in full. You know, all of these trades are given either in the whale room live Zooms that we do, and some of them we give here live on the show, like just through these chart requests, we find them, and there's the trade, right? So you're looking at a move up into, what have I got over here? Last 4 digits, 1440, I said is a major take profit zone. So 𝗵𝗂 playing out a lot of that move. This could hit as soon as today, especially if Ethereum does put in a 12% move, right? If it holds that ascending triangle structure on the low time frames and we see that breakout. Anyways, okay. What I want to say, yes, Whale School, right? Whale School is there for you guys who want to join. 9 days, 4 hours left to go. You can unlock full access for free. If you sign up to 𝗏𝗏𝗏, you get to go there, spin the wheel over there, stand a chance to win something, and simultaneously you can use that user ID to access not only my course, but actually any of these courses, right? You see there's David Tech School now that's coming up as well. Page got rugged. Did you see that? But it's back. David Tech is the newest course that we have, right? If you look over here, he's also going to be taking registrations, and this is automated trading, right? So he does automated trading, bot-specific types of trading. If you do want to get into that, just sign up using the link in 𝗏𝗏𝗏, and then when you go through to the school page, it will ultimately get you access, and then also join mine. All right, cool. What else, guys? Let's have a look. Mudeng. We can have a look at Mudeng. We've seen some of these meme coins make a mighty resurrection. So let's have a look. How is Mudeng looking? Has it moved a lot or not yet? Okay, moving. It has moved significantly. I can't really advocate that anybody gets into this. You know, once you had that compression into the Monday low and high between that range, look at that move, 230%, huge. But a consolidation in the zone over here would ultimately probably lead into a big bull flag that's going to lead into the next move up, and possibly you could target up towards those highs. All right, GOAT, we're already in that trade. That was another one that we gave. Let's see how's WIF doing. WIF also looking good, starting to expand over here. Okay, let's see. Any other ones that stand out? Ponky, how's Ponky doing? Okay, Ponky already put in a bit of a big move, so you can't chase that one. Any other memes that are kind of in a decent zone? So that's why I said AI, what's it? AI 16. Which one did we give? AI 16 or AI XBT? AI XBT, that was the one. AI XBT is a AI agent, but it falls under that meme coin narrative. And I view this as one that hasn't yet taken off. So keep eyes on this one, right? If you want something that's relatively early, I think this is pretty decent, at least for a move up into these 42 cents region, which would take you from here to here, right? 100% move, pretty decent. All right, 𝗵𝗛𝗄, sure, we can have a look at 𝗵𝗛𝗄 USDT. Okay, 𝗵𝗛𝗄, let's see. Okay, 𝗵𝗛𝗄 didn't get the memo. Why did you guys not send the memo to 𝗵𝗛𝗄? 𝗵𝗛𝗄 got absolutely smashed over here, already deviated back. It's not really what you want to see. Of course, it could put in a bit of reaccumulation. If it starts to reclaim the previous month's high, which is going to be that 0.023, so 0.023. If it starts to reclaim that, maybe a bit of a shakeout, and then it's going to start to pop again. But yeah, you don't really want to see these deviate. You typically want to see these things hold and move. Let's quickly double check over here on, okay, ETH is still holding up over there. All right, what else? Say, sure, we can have a look at Say. Where is our Say chart? There it is. Okay. Already put in a big move. A lot of the best positions, you know, I'd be looking for things that haven't yet expanded too far from their Monday low and high. So you want to mark out that Monday low and high. This has already started to move from there. So you can't necessarily chase this. You know, if you get a pullback down into 0.22, decent zone. NEAR was another one that we took the trade on, right? Theoretically, you know, this has moved a lot from the Monday low and high. It's expanded already. We took this trade relatively early. But what I would say with this is, as long as you continue to maintain price action above the previous month's high, right? You can see these lows probably hold. So if you want to lose stop loss, previous month's high, theoretically, you could be longing over here. Very risky, but looking at expansion up towards some of these high levels, as long as the risk to reward makes sense. I think first TP zone I'd be looking at is about 360, and thereafter a move all the way up to the Yodi open. Okay. Mr. Invalidated, I love that name. Mr. Invalidated says, it depends on the weekly close. And it does. Absolutely, guys. This is actually where you need to be really careful. Let me see if I have on my other screen over here one of these other charts for the weekly. Let's just see over here for the weekly. What do we have? Do we have a nice weekly chart that I can show you? Okay, I'm just going to pull this one up for now. So let's pull up the weekly. That's the wrong one. 1 second. Mr. Invalidated says depends on the weekly close, and it does. So let's just quickly throw in that weekly chart over there. So firstly, as per a trend, we said, you know, above the 21 EMA, bullish. Pretty simple, right? Below the 21 EMA and it's angled towards the downside, bearish, risk of end of cycle stuff where price could continue to melt down into the next levels of support. You reclaimed it on this candle, right? So that's looking good, right? Now you're starting to consolidate above that 21 EMA. That's all good. But as per the, you know, fib levels, if you're looking at this as an overall trading range, and we can measure from the high, there we go, perfectly measured from the high down to the low of the move over here. And then we put on, let's just go onto our fib that has, of course, the 0.786 and the 886, which is going to be these levels over here. And I'll box it out for you. So this is exactly where price is capped right now, in between those two zones, right? So this is what it depends on the weekly close. You have to be real. You have to be absolutely real, guys. I think bulls have a lot of momentum over here, but if you start to swing fail over here, right? if this starts to act as a wick and come down, which is why I asked that. I asked you guys, the audience, in the poll. You can let me know if you go to the poll. There it is. Weekly close will be what? Giga bullish, 61% of you said. Wick and a bull trap, 33% of you said. The rest of you must comment, right? 6% of you must comment. So if you do swing fail, the 33% will be right over here. If this candle starts to close down below $100,000 before the weekly close, that does create a scenario where, ultimately price is simply just range bound. So there's your range low and there's your range high. Let's expand this. There we go, between the pink zones. And then you could start to move back down towards the mid-range to find support, which would be just slightly below $90,000 is going to be the level between the high and the low over here. So are you range bound or are you breaking out into a strong trending move? That is always the question you have to ask yourself. And that's what I try and actually teach you specifically if you do go into the Whale School course. That is actually what I try and teach you. I try and teach you to differentiate specifically between, are you in a ranging market or are you in a trending market? There it is, ranges and trends. You need to go into that session to figure that out, right? So unlock full access if you haven't already unlocked full access. That's where we teach you how to identify the difference between the two. All right, guys, that is it from me. Thank you so much for joining. I do appreciate each and every single one of you, and I hope that you all have an absolutely lovely weekend. I've given you a couple of trade setups over there. I've shown you that we're probably looking at one more bit of expansion towards the upside, so the weekend could get heated. ETH could put in as much as even a 10 to 12% move over the course of today, as long as, and keyword, it maintains that structure on the low time frame. That little ascending triangle needs to hold, right? If it doesn't hold, of course, well, then you could be looking at a bit of distribution. But that is the lay of the land. And I hope you all have a great weekend. And I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers for now.